Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6. I say 6 a.m. Excuse me, 7 a.m. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is 7 a.m. Beautiful California. I think it's going to get high up to 94, which is good for us because we can hit those triple digits. Good morning. How you guys doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. From those of my fellow Georgians, Floridians, I'm excited. Today is the day. And guess what? I'm in this loft. I used to do a lot of videos in here. So I said today I'll come sit on my big ottoman and just kind of get comfortable. So let's see. Let me bring this up a little more. Oh, I guess that's all it's gonna do. Um, I just know I'm excited today. Doesn't look like I'm getting as comfortable as I thought it was. But anyhow, this gotta go. It's too bright. Just a second. Oh yeah, much better. Much better. Okay, so we'll let some of that natural light come. Oh, much better. Now, today we're going to talk about the realities of home ownership. The realities of home ownership. I'm hoping that you're going to be here with me because I'm excited. Well, three things that I want to say today that's really important. um, all right. So, I'm going to talk about 3 points when it comes to the reality of home ownership. The reality of home ownership. Now, this is a different take than what most people would probably talk about, but there's just some reality, okay? So, first of all, I like to say good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to my channel. This is Saturday morning. We're in the month of June. It is beautiful, beautiful outside. I just went on a couple of trips, so you can see I have this glistening glow about me, and my pigment is nice and pecan, and I'm very, very happy. I got that vitamin D, needing vitamin D, so I was making sure that I use sunscreen, but I got as much vitamin D as I could have. So today we're going to talk about the realities of home ownership. Yes, let's talk about the reality of home ownership. Many of us have desired, have thought about it, have contemplated, have gone to open houses, have done these various things to desire to see our fruition come to pass. The desire, that's what's in you. The first thing you do is you have to have that desire. Okay? Number 1 is the desire to have home ownership. And without desire, we don't get past that, right? You have to have that desire. And when it comes to desire, there's something that you've seen, something that you heard, or something that you experienced that made you desire home ownership. Let me tell you what my things were. When it came to desire for me for home ownership, and I'll be 55 June 30th, and as of date, I've owned 4 homes. Okay, as of date, I've owned 4 homes. Three were brand new. No one lived in there but me. I built them, and that was exciting. The fourth one was a rental that I purchased. But the desire for me going way back led to things that I seen, I heard, and I experienced. Yes, good morning. When you desire home ownership, there are some things that go to play. There's a hoping and a wishing and a praying. And the things that I saw was growing up, no one really having ownership of a home. And some people rent homes and they take such good care of them. You think that they own them until you become kind of mid high school and you realize, oh, they were renting all this time. Nothing wrong with that because you knew that you wanted a home instead of an apartment, okay? And then I heard some things. So I saw some things and I heard some things. The other thing that made me desire home ownership is I realized that someone could take it away from you in the rent phase. They could say, okay, I'm no longer going to rent this to you. Or they'll say, I'm going to put this house on the market and you have 2 months to, find somewhere to live, or I give you 6 months. But there's that thing that could happen, right? The other thing is I've seen them go up, up on the rent when you're renting an apartment, even when you're renting a home, right? And then I experienced moving into a home in my, I think I was in the ninth grade, and it wasn't perhaps the home that at the time that I probably would have wanted to live in, but it was where my adult childhood was, and it became a blessing. And it let me know that the adult that was in my life had to do some sacrificing to move me from an apartment environment to a freestanding home. And although the first 10 years was rent, and then had the conversation and purchased that home and got credit for the years of rental and took very good care of the home. And so as an adult, I lived in a home that was purchased. And so those experiences, but what you have to think about is when you desire it, and someone else is working with you to make it happen. Say you are a couple, you have a couple, and you're trying to de- decide about this home ownership. She has a desire, he has a desire, or if you're in a same sex marriage or same sex partnership, you both desire something individual to make the complete desire for totality, and you have to work together on that desire. Now, why is it different between me desiring the four homes that I purchased as a single person as opposed to you desiring a home and you have a spouse, a significant other, a partner, or something else where the two of you have to make that decision? So when you do that, this is very important when you talk about desiring something. You have to be very specific when you have a partner. Now you need to be specific as a single person, but even more as a partner because you have to have the give and the take with that desire. So we desire to have a home, but what will we do to get it? What about the credit? What about the actual cash that is needed up front? Even what is your debt to income ratio, because that's so important. People go on and on about the credit. Well, the credit is going to give you that interest rate that you desire if you have the better credit score. But you can have the best credit score and you could be like my friend Kevin. Him and his wife were so excited. They were selling their home to this teacher and da da da. And when their real estate lady came, they said, I'm sorry, you're not going to sell this house. And they were like, why? The teacher only qualified for like 100,000. Their house was 115. Why on earth would that person even look at that house? And so that's when they learned that. And I'm laughing because Kevin was Caucasian, and after he talking about Adrian, why your people ain't got no money? I said, Kevin, why you didn't make sure that your real estate lady looked and ensure that that person could afford that home. So having the money for closing costs is one thing, but having debt to income ratio where they say, okay, if all things fail, they at least can pay this mortgage, okay? Because they want you to be able to stay in it, not just get in it. All right. So desiring is important because the one person that you're with, you got to desire it, but what else comes with the desire? You got to be able to make that thing happen. So Wanting, wishing, hoping, and praying is one thing, but the desire, that desire has to be so intense that you'll do what is necessary. So, for instance, if you go and you get your credit check and you talk to a realtor and they say, "Oh, you're wonderful in these 10 things, but these 3 things we really need you to work on. You really need to get rid of some of this debt." Maybe you got several credit cards. So you want to work on those things, right? And in the meantime, how are you going to do it? Maybe you get a part-time job. Maybe you work some overtime. Maybe you'll do declutter. All those things that I talked about budgeting. That desire is one thing, but the action that comes with the desire is another. So you can sit and go to all the open houses you want to, but you got to do the work. You got to transform that desire of hoping and wishing and praying and wanting a home into some action. That means to start paying those credit cards off. Okay, start keeping some money in the bank so they can see that you have some consistency. Start saving for those closing costs. Okay, and if you're in a partnership, go back and look at the video of the couple that I helped get into the home. The two couples, the woman, her credit was worse than the husband, so we worked on the husband's credit. So when we went to the table, the husband's credit is what we used to get the home, and her income was a supportive factor. Her name was not on the mortgage. And then about a month or so later, they put her name on it. But the point I'm trying to say is you have to do that's what that desire is. That's what that plan is. That's what that conversation, um, communication. If you go over to TikTok, I just did a huge platform on having difficult, how to have difficult conversations. No, what was it? No, let me get it right. It was called How to Discuss Finances with Your Significant Other. How to discuss finances with your significant other. Now, don't you think this is a good time if you're thinking about purchasing a home, home ownership, buying a trailer, buying a house, buying a condo, buying a townhome, buying rental property, whatever you're doing, you need to have that discussion. All right. And I give different ways of how to preface things and how to talk and the facial expressions and all of that. So go over and look at that. All right. The second thing when we get into this desire is if we can't come to an understanding. So with that desire, I was single. Every home that I built or purchased, I built 3 and purchased 1. I didn't have to ask anybody's input. So if I wanted to get something, more exuberant, then I could. But if I'm working with my partner, we have to discuss what type of home. Do we want brick? Do we want siding? Do we want stucco? How many square feet? How many bedrooms? Do we need a basement? Like all those, what do you want? All the desires need to be written down. And then you have to come to an agreement with how much we're going to spend, because they're going to give you I can't say the word I want to say, a buttload of money to buy a home. All right, way above what you need to spend. But don't be house poor. So these are things desire. You want this big mansion, but can you afford the big mansion? How about just get out the apartment and get into something in a decent neighborhood that once you leave there, you can rent it out like I did with my properties, rent them out, and they will make money for you. But if you get something that that's really not good, that's really not flexible for other people, when you go to sell it or when you go to rent it out, it's not desirable. So you have to think now and later. All right. So having these conversations because of the desire, your desire, we're just at desire. That's all we're at. We're just desiring. We want a house. We tired of the apartment or we're tired of living with someone. That desire is going to help you get to that next thing in your life is the action. Action. Action is what you're gonna do. What you're gonna do. What you're gonna do. You're talking. The desires. Talk, 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 talk. My action is number 2. First, you have desire. Second, you have action. Now, for me, I'm gonna tell you about that first house I bought. I was still living at home with my mom. I went from an LPN to an RN. I was giving my mom $300 a month as an LPN. When I became an RN, I gave my mother 500. And for 6 months I did it, and I didn't think nothing of it because my mother didn't make a lot of money, and I was a nurse, so I was at a higher rate. So anyway, after about 4 months, I was like, I wonder if I could afford, you know, this was 1998 now, so all you young people don't be freaking out about $500. That was really a lot of money back then. So anyway, I um I started looking for places. Now, I didn't want to freestanding at home because I still was a little scary cat, right? I was maybe 27, 28, yeah. So I still was scary because this would have been my first time. Now, I went to college and, stayed in apartments and dorms and stuff, but to be by myself. So I wanted something attached. There were two places I went to look. But anyway, I ended up finding a in unit on a condo. See, when you get an in unit, you get that extra lighting and you have that extra parking. It is just nice, right? So I put $2,000 down and I was getting this in unit. Guess how much my mortgage was? Guess, guess. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. How much was my mortgage? Now remember, I was paying my mother 500. How much was my mortgage? My mortgage was $534. Just 34 more dollars, okay? 34 more dollars. And I was able to get that home. So I say to you, the desire was there. But as a nurse, I had my debt to income ratio was wonderful because I live with my mom. I had made plenty of money. I could get an enormous amount of overtime. I was living the life. But second thing is I had action behind it because I had saved up my little $2,000 and I was able to put it down. Now, it was another 2 months before everything happened, but at least I had my earnest money and I put it down, right? That's action. I went and found the places. It was 1,100 square foot, it's 1,100 square foot, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, flat condo, meaning no stairs. Perfect. A big open plan living room, dining room combined. The kitchen, straight through, patio. Too big. We had the molding, crown molding, the cathedral like ceiling, cathedral like ceiling. For a 27, 28-year old, that was big, especially coming from the projects, growing up in a single parent home. That was good. So I took that desire and turned it into action. Now, you say 534. Now you got lights. It was total electric. So I had lights. I had a heat pump. So I didn't have gas. So I would pay my water bill and my light bill. And I had half cable. Back then they called it half cable. Just so your TV will work. It wasn't the TVs now with a smart TV. You just turn it on and it's going to pick up channels. So I got half cable. I think that was like $10, $12 a month. And that pretty much was it. I had my car note, and when I first moved out, the car was paid for. But I didn't have a lot, and I bought my groceries, and I was just glad to have it. So $534. But if you listen to what I'm saying, I had already planned. I was already used to paying a bill. You notice before I moved out, I was giving my mother $300. Then I gave her $500. So I was an LPN from 94 to 98 when I graduated with my RN. So all those years, so I'm used to paying. I'm used to paying. I'm not someone that's tight. Well, I was tight for myself, but what I'm saying is I knew responsibilities. So before I got into that condo, my 1,100 square foot, 2 bedroom, 2.5 bath on that end unit, it is a gift that has kept giving me because I paid it off in 18 years. It was 17, 18. I still can't remember. 18 years because I did those extra payments and I just did a whole lot. But in the 11 years that I've been written, I made $100,000 on it. What I'm trying to say is 100,000 in income. Yes, 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 100,000 of the renters paying the money. All right. And the only thing I've done to it is put in a new AC unit. That was only $4,000. That's why I say buy something good. So when you leave it in a great neighborhood, it's 1.3 miles from the Augusta National Golf Course. You can't get in a better neighborhood. Well, better neighborhoods are there, but it is in a great neighborhood. And I used to rent it out. I'm saying those desires that you turn into action, I was ready. I was afraid. And I'm going to be honest because, we all Christians. We say, oh, don't be afraid. God doesn't give you fear. God gives you wisdom. The fear is something that keeps you intact to make some questions, to ask some questions, to say, Lord, is this the right time? Lord, can I afford this? Because you don't want to get in a house and then have to get out, be put out, or have to sell it because it's stress. Lay aside every weight that so easily besets you. So you have the desire. Oh, you want. You can want. But if you don't go out there and work or invest your money in something good to bring in a harvest, or you could get inheritance. Somebody could inherit and give you a home. But if you don't know how to manage and take care of it, structurally it's gonna fall apart. You got to pay your rent. I mean, not the rent, the lights. You still have to pay the taxes, the insurance, all of that stuff have to be. And if it has an association, you have to pay those fees. Property tax, those are the things that you have to do even when someone gives you something. And I know people that have lost property because they couldn't even pay the property tax. Oh my goodness. Or the house is falling apart because they couldn't put no new windows or insulation, or maybe the electrical and plumbing. Like, you have to be ready. All right. So, first, the desire. Second, the action. Now, when I told you that I was able to go back and pay only $534, I could work one hour overtime and get that $34 back then. Okay? So I was okay. And because I was afraid to lose it, I worked a whole bunch of overtime and and stuffed some money away, because once I left, I wasn't going back. Okay? That is the mantra. Because when you have that mindset, you don't mind picking up some extra shift. You don't mind getting a part-time. And back then, when you were a young nurse, oh, you got energy. I was emergency room nurse. I was at 2 hospitals, one full-time, one part-time. Like, that was the thing. We called it PRN. The desire is there, but you got to put that action to it. You've got to be able to put that action to it. Oh, and at the time, I think it was $30. The home association's $30. Now it's like 75, but it was $30 then. It was little nothing. That was monthly, okay? It was that. So I went from the 34 to another 30. That's 64. And then my utilities was around about $100. Then you got to eat. But, you know, just being glad that you're in your place, you do what you have to do. You do what you have to do. Okay. When I say to you action, that means you are ready to make that step. You are ready to take that step. Now, do not go and bother those real estate people, or go to your bank worrying people, unless you're asking for a non-official, because you don't want people going in your credit doing anything, because that's the worst thing when you're starting to get, they're pulling your credit. No, we're not doing that. And within 2 weeks, you need to decide who you're going to use. So that's why by the time they pull your credit, you need to make that decision within 2 weeks. Don't just keep going. So you could pull a lot of people, but within that 2 weeks, you need to decide, I'm going with this builder number one, builder number two, or builder number three. Now, the incentives that they're giving now is totally different from when I was, back then. You got to have that down payment and those closing cost incentive if you buy new construction. If you're buying something that someone else has, then you gotta work with them to see the bargaining power. Nowadays, we're in 2024. Let me tell you, the buyer is not in the driver's seat. It is the owner, all right? Because these investors are coming and they're overbidding you. Okay, they're just overbidding you. They really are. I was shocked to get that last property that I purchased. But it was an investor that was retiring that was selling so many houses in 3 neighborhoods that he had, and I got a steal, because he was done. He was ready to get out. So your action, you got to be ready. That credit score, making enough money, getting rid of all that unneeded debt, those little credit cards, making sure that your debt to income ratio matches what you need, because you don't want people to have to tell you this basic stuff. Why would you go to McDonald's? And I don't eat McDonald's. I think that's kid food. I used to love it when I was a kid. Why would you go with McDonald's with $10 when you know the meal you want is $11? They're going to tell you no, you can't afford it. And they're going to turn you around. So don't go to the real estate people, because they're going to do the lender. They're going to pull the credit. Don't go to your bank because they can pull your credit. This is what I did. I went, because if you go to a credit union, you have a credit card with them or you have an account with them, they're going to see your soft score, right? And that soft score will let them know, oh, this is kind of what you're running the last couple of months. So you about know what your score is, right? But the most important thing is your debt to income ratio. They will not give you that house if it doesn't match. You have to be able to have X amount of dollars to be able to pay that house note, which is that mortgage, and they're gonna factor in lights, water, gas, your regular living. Okay, people have to get internet. Those are not things that you have to have, but you have to have lights, gas, water, and electric. In California, you got to have solar. But those are basic things that you have to have. Okay. And if you have a car note on the books already, they got to add that car note in. All right. So think about making yourself clear before you do that. Those are the actions that you're doing. Now, while you're doing those actions to make sure your credit and your money is good, it won't hurt you to work some part time. It won't hurt you to get another job, because the sooner you get your ish together, then you will be more of a qualified buyer. That's what we want you to do. We want you to be qualified. We want you to get that pre-approval letter. Remember I told you about my friend Kevin? Him and his wife was so mad because that teacher only had 100,000, and I think the house was like 115 or 119. They didn't even qualify. Like, why are you bothering these people? Don't do it. Get your pre-qualified letter, because people are not talking to you if you can't afford it. Now, do that. The next thing you need to do is, while you're with your significant other, your partner, decide what things that you want in the house, because that lender, they're going to give you the letter, but your realtor is going to be the one that's walking around with you and presenting these properties. And if you're acting like you're helter-skelter, like you got some mental things because you don't know what you want, get your list together of the must-have. I must have a jacuzzi tub. If that's your thing, you got to have it. I must have a bay window. I must have a big backyard. You might want to have children or have children. You need a closed-in backyard. Because don't buy something and you got a kid and there's no fence. You barely can get in there. When you going to get the money to buy a fence? Okay? And fences are very expensive, especially for an average yard. It's a fence. You gotta, you can't get around that. So now you got this big, beautiful house, and your kid, you don't feel safe with them out there unless you're back there with them, right? So don't do it. Don't do it. That should be those non-negotiable things. So when you have that list of what you want. So when they go and they say you want a brick, you want stucco, or whatever, you want 2 bedroom, 4, they're not going to show you things that don't go in your list. They'll say, this has 9 things that you want, but the one thing you don't want, you need to prioritize that for them. If that fence is important, that needs to be up there. Okay? If you want to study a small little nook or something, you got to tell them all of that. I call it your wish list, and you need to prioritize that. All right. The type neighborhood, the school system. If you have kids, I shouldn't say into kids because I don't have any kids. But if you have children, they're gonna grow up. If this is your first house and you believe you're gonna get another, what things happen? You might just end up there for whatever reasons. So you want to make sure it's a decent enough school where you can afford and you feel comfortable for your kids to go there. Now, if you're going to send in a private school, then it probably don't matter where you live. Okay, if you balling like that, but you have that desire and the action. Why are you doing these actions? These action might take you 6 months, it might take you 1 year, it might take you 3 years, because it depends on what your credit score looks like, it depends on what your debt to income ratio looks like. And guess what, you need to factor in some interest. The better your debt to income ratio is, the better interest rate you can get. But right now the interest rates are crazy. So some people say they're just waiting because they're like, I might get in the house, but it's going to be so high, so much more because of the interest rate. Those are the decisions that action, when you having that communication with your partner, your significant other, you have to make that decision. But if you're 3 years out because you're not near getting a pre-approval letter, that's when you start hustling, paying those debts off, decluttering, selling stuff, getting that money that you made out of the garage and through the house and put on the credit card. So you do the snowball effect, because now you have a budget, you have your $1,000 emergency fund, and you're going to tackle your debt because what you have something that you're laser focused on. That means if you are laser focused on getting this house, this property, whatever this is, that means they're eating out, them traveling all willy-nilly, buying clothes and gaming systems and things that don't add to that vision. Don't see it, don't see it, don't see it. All you see, you should have a picture of your house. You should have a picture of that house, whatever you want. And it might not be that specific house, but a house with the number of bedrooms you want. Everything you desire, you need to have a vision. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain, though it tarries, meaning it might take a minute, but it will come. It will come. But what? We're in the action phase. That means we got to do the work. You can't get mad with your significant other if you don't do it, because they're still spending money. The credit card, you just paid it off and they just went because they don't know what a real emergency is, and they don't went and did it again. Now, this is the biggest thing that I want you guys to understand when you want a home. It is so easy to live in an apartment because you have the maintenance man and the maintenance woman. You have someone that you just call up. We need to fix the plumbing. Up. We need the air conditioner fixed. Up. You have to do nothing but just make a phone call or put it in the computer, do the little order. It's different when you're a homeowner. I told you this is my fourth home, and I'm in California. This is my fourth home. 2 properties in Georgia, 1 in California, and 1 in Missouri. That is the do not stop, do not pass go. Listen, if you don't hear anything else, beyond a good credit score, beyond having a good debt to income ratio, beyond the ability to work, to make extra money, you need to be able to afford when you get there, because some stuff gonna be towed up probably within the first year. Something's gonna happen, okay? Especially if you buying something that someone else had. Now, new construction, you have a year warranty on most of the things. Your roof is 10 years, but regular. So this is what I'm saying to you. You have the desire, and doing your action phase, you need to have the conversation is, okay, sweetheart, we got enough money to get in this house. We have good credit. We have a good debt to income ratio. We have our closing costs. We can enjoy this interest rate, even though it's a little high. Our note will be this, and we can handle it. This is the thing. If you're just making those and you have no wiggle room for emergencies, and all you have is $1,000, well, $1,000 is good. But when you have a house, you need a couple of $1,000, because when I told you the only thing I bought for that rental in Georgia was an AC. And even though it was $4,000, which wasn't a lot because it was a heat pump and it just one unit. Some of you guys the house here is one, but the house in Atlanta had 2 units. Okay, so when your units go out, which one of y'all got $4,000? Remember, you only have $1,000 emergency fund. So now we're gonna go in debt because we're gonna give them the 1,000 that we do have, so they'll even get started, and then they're gonna finance the rest. Don't let nothing else happen in that house. And oh, I'm sorry, we don't just have a house. We have two cars. Remember, you're a team. You got two cars. The brakes that went out on one, the tire and balled on another one. So now all of this ish is happening. This is what I mean about the action part of desire, making, like, can I really, the reality of owning a home? These are the things that happen. Oh yeah, we're past the housewarming. Somebody bought you a toaster and bought you a nice towel set. Where are those people when you got $4,000 to pay on an air conditioning unit? That's what I'm saying. So this might not be the year for you. You might want to save up a little bit more money, all right? And when that overtime comes, instead of sitting at home or twiddling your thumb on these social media, you need to be getting this money, because overtime on these jobs don't come often. And if when they come, you better get it. You better get it. You better get it. You better get it. Or get you a part-time job, or get you a call center job where you can sit at home and you can eyeball your kids, make sure they're doing their homework, and you're working on a telemarketing type job. I don't care. But before you leave and give up that cushy apartment, you need to have some sense. And I'm telling you, the moment you turn and they give you that key and they walk away, that's your issue. So if you buy a lemon, you're going to have to fix up that lemon. Now, some of us buy fixer-uppers, and that's all in the plan to fix it up and go. That's different. That's different because you know that stuff ain't about working, and you know you got to fix it. That's totally different. But if you think this is my house and if I never get another one, you need to make sure ish work. So when all these things happen and your little $1,000 goes away, the last thing you want to do, and I'm telling you, let's go back to this. You see your house. You could smell, you want to put that carpet freshener stuff on it. Or you want to polish up your hardwood floors. Or you want to wipe down your granite counters. And this is a big thing on TikTok and YouTube. They put the candle. I need to do that. I got all these candles. I never light them. They put the candle and they just sit there and smell it. Imagine that. Or your bubble bath, because you've been waiting for that bubble bath in that jacuzzi tub. And then you barely can pay that house note because that AC went out. Okay? Or be like this lady. She had 2 grandkids, her husband, herself, and a son. And they went a whole month in the middle of Georgia in August. Woo, Jesus. Because he was waiting for a part. Because they didn't have their money together. They were waiting on some part for a whole month. I mean, hot. And then she had the nerve to say, oh, I'm going to go get my hair done. I was thinking to myself, why waste your time? Because when you come back to that high house, your house hair just going to be go, whoosh. I didn't say it out loud. I was just saying that. But when you don't have the money to get a new unit, or all you have is $1,000 to put towards it, now we have a new debt, because whatever the 3,000 is, and whatever however they say, the interest rate for however long, 1 year, 2 years, you're going to pay it back. It's going to be expensive. That is the thing that I want you to talk about and think about now. Oh, termite insurance when you're in Georgia, those areas. Over where I live is flood insurance. You go over LA, you got hurricane. Not hurricane. What is it? Earthquake. You got all these different type insurances you have to have that adds to your bills. So yeah, you say, oh, that's only $1,000. That's just the mortgage. Where's the property tax, hazardous insurance, all these things, homeowners association. You got all these other things. So don't get excited until you're able to afford to do all these things. You don't want to be in your jacuzzi and the jets, this is really happens a lot. The jets get clogged and then all that water starts backing up. or the jets don't work no more. All that stuff's got to be fixed. What I'm saying is, I don't want you to be house poor, and I don't want you to be like, what have we done? I want your eyes wide open, because now you got to clean the yard, you got to get a lawnmower, or you got to hire someone. That's a bill. Buying the lawnmower. I bought a lawnmower because my big fat self, I had that 0.75 lot, and I would be, doing it with the lawnmower and running up the hill, and that was my exercise for the week. Washing your cars. Now you don't have to go to the quick car place. You wash your car real quick because you have a yard, and you got a hose pipe and a bucket from the Dollar Tree. Come on, y'all, get with it. You ain't got to spend every penny you have. You learn how to be tight. You have a garage now. You can driveway. You can go out there and wash your car, cut your grass. But you don't want to be buyer's remorse. Just like when you buy those outfits and you gain a little weight and you be like, oh, this is a little tight. It was tight when you bought it, girl. It was tight when you bought it, okay? But don't be remorseful. That's number 2, action. And then 3 is follow-up. So first you have a desire, then you do the action. Now the follow-up. This is what the follow-up is. After you're in your home a year, 2 years, 3 years, there's a list of things you need to do. Like, I've been in my house 2 years here in California, and last year I was supposed to get the tankless hot water heat flushed. Oh, I'm thinking it's no be no problem. It was $300 and something because I'm on an air conditioned maintenance plan, it was like $240, $250. It wasn't that much. But it took them 35 minutes to come in. I watched them, because you always watch people. Anytime somebody doing something in your house, you go room to room. You don't think they're stealing anything, but they would knock something against the wall and swear that was already like that. Put ish back just the way you found it. You're not going to leave remnants coming out of my ceiling. You're going to wipe stuff down. I'm going to give you everything you need. Paper towel, water, squeegee, a vacuum cleaner. But you're not leaving my house crazy, all right? Now, that was a digress, but that's what you do, and you will never have problems. Don't leave your children there to watch nobody. They don't know. They don't know. I don't even care your teenage. They don't know. They're not paying attention. You or your significant other, some adult, need to make sure. All right. So the follow-up is making sure you can maintain and do the things that is needed for this home. Meaning, after about a year, you might say, I really want to get that backyard landscaped. Well, you might not have the money, but you can start going to Lowe's and buying certain things to put together. Maybe it's those little rocks, because I did mine. I did the little round. I put the rocks on the side. Then I went and got those knockout roses. Oh, you couldn't tell me nothing. First of all, it's exercise and it's home improvement. By the 4th year, I had enough money to get a sprinkler system added. Let me tell you, when you get a sprinkler system, it changes the game, because you don't have to go out there and water anything. I did it at the end of a year when they need money. So I did it like in December. He gave me a great deal, and he put me on a payment plan. So I did it in like 4 payments. I think it was going to be $6,000, and he gave it to me for like $4,000, and it was wireless. So it was programmed. It would just do what it would do. That's what I'm saying. You have to be able to have some follow-up with this. That means you're constantly thinking, how can I upkeep? Now, if your insulation is not good, you might have to do some insulation. You might have to update. And that's what I mean about follow up. When you follow up on something, it usually needs money. So you need to have stash. You desire, then you do the action. Now you in the home, but there's some follow-up. Now, that next year, if you barely making it, this is the follow-up. Guess what didn't happen? Your property taxes went up, and your homeowner's insurance went up, and the association fees went up. You might have another $300 a month hit you, and you already barely make it. That's why you got to follow up. You got to go and open up your bank statements, your mortgage statements, because they let you know in advance what your new things are going to be. Follow up and make sure that you know, because you might still be sitting at $1,000 a month, what you was paying. Now it's $1,300 a month. So you have to be ready for that. We're not buying new cars. People, this is what people do. They move in the house and they try to put all this furniture in here. No, you need to have some money stashed because things are going to happen with this house. Now, even if you buy a new home, the follow up is the warranty. That 9 months before that, you start finding everything. You start taking that blue tape and you start putting stuff on the wall, writing down everything and putting it into the system. Anything that has to do with the walls with paint, let that be the last month because they're not going to paint but one time. Okay? And I tell people do not paint in a new house until after the warranty. Because if something happens with, they're gonna say you altered it and it could have been like that. Leave the painting to 1 year and a day because the warranty is over when it comes to that, and you haven't put in any work orders for anything prior to. So even if they don't fix it till later, you still need to have that work order because sometimes they're busy. Sometimes they do it like in the 13th month. But the last thing I always do is have them to paint, and that touch up paint. But get those cabinets. Make sure you get those cabinets. I made them change out my cabinet doors probably about 4 times. Every time I found a cabinet door that wasn't right. But those are the things. I digress. But the follow up, you have to be vigilant. You can't be lazy if you're a homeowner. I'm telling you, this is your ish, and you paying that ish for 30 years, and this structurally you want it to be right, and you do home improvements every single day by cleaning it up, wiping it down, making sure. What's that word? In Georgia, I talked about termite, but then you also have insects. So when you get the termite, that you could actually get another plan where they just do a quarterly. They come out and spray, make sure you don't have like spiders or in California. That's what I see a lot here. But we don't have the ants like in Georgia. Georgia, you have the ants. In California, where I am, it's spiders. And I'm living in a neighborhood they're constantly building this like phase 4 they're on. So every time you upset in the soil, the critters coming. So you have to have money for all these things. So that's the follow up. Follow up and know that things are going to go up. Mortgage is going to go up because property taxes change and your insurance changes. If nothing else, those things are going to change. So it's going to go up. And so following up on all your warranties, making sure things are up to date. And if the warranty says you're supposed to once a year get that tank hosed out, then you do it. So now I do the anything that's quarterly every 6 months. I put that on my list and I divide it by 12. All right. And that's your sinking fund. So when that 250 or whatever that was, I will have that. All right. So I thought I was going to have to pay my flood insurance this year because my first year I had to pay it out of my pocket. Well, now when I went to pay the 529, the lady said, oh, your mortgage is going to take care of it. And sure enough, I went and looked. The mortgage people had already paid it. Now, they haven't received it yet, but they sent them the check number and they said it was on the way. It was bulk batching out. So they should get it. They sent it on 530. So that 529, I just put that over in the extras. So next year, I'm ahead. I'm ahead now. I'm ahead. Yes, I am. Now, my mortgage did go up. I think it was $20 or $30. And now I understand why. Because now that flood thing is in there. Yeah. No, it's $40. It went up. But anyway, it's okay because the money is there. I'm consumer debt free. I just have a house note. And my house note is about only 9 or 10% of my monthly income. Have money, put money to the side, and be ready for the follow-up. The follow-up is it. It's one thing to get in a home, but the follow-up. Are you able to stay in the home? Being proactive instead of reactive. You want to go on that trip because it's like, oh, we've been saving to get in this house. And that next year, you're like, oh, we're going to go on this back family trip. You know what the family trip is? Get in that backyard, have a cookout, invite everybody over and enjoy your house. That's your oasis. Why are you buying a house and you running and still traveling everywhere. You got to get used to the mortgage. It takes you a minute. When I say not just get used to the mortgage, put some money away and be ready. So have the cookout, have the birthday party, do things at the house because you don't need to be paying extra money to do something else. Enjoy that jacuzzi. Tell your husband to say, okay, it's my birthday. I want you to run my bath water. I want you to cook me a meal and give me a massage, whatever. Do all that little stuff you in your new house. Create your oasis because you're going to pay that note. Yes, and within 45 days, the bill is coming and you're going to have to pay. You're gonna 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 have to pay. So you did your closing costs and all of that, and they want their money in 45 days. Their house look good until that 45th day. You're like, oh, I got to pay this note. Yes, boo. You bought this house. You had the desire, and you did the action. Now this is the follow up. Paying that bill. Pay that bill. Pay that bill. Pay that bill. But enjoy your home. Enjoy your home. You deserve it. You work hard for it. But don't let the people take it. Have you some emergency money? Things gonna happen. That roof, it may leak. Okay? It may leak. You gotta have some money. You gotta have some money. You gotta patch it or you're gonna have to replace it. These are the things. When I say the woes of home ownership, that's people don't talk about. Oh, if you live in an apartment, you're not even paying a water bill. So now you're paying a water bill. You wasn't paying termite. You wasn't paying nobody to cut the grass. Pressure washing the house down. Because the association gonna get you when they're looking crazy. Or painting your shutters. I'm telling you, you gotta go and become Mr. and Mrs. Home Improvement. You better go to TikTok University or YouTube University and find out how to do some stuff. Go to Home Depot and Lowe's and they give classes. You better learn how to do some stuff and keep that money in your pocket for real emergencies. All I want to say is that I think home ownership, the realities of home ownership is true. They are realities, but I believe in you. You have the desire. That's number one. But number two, you got to put some action behind that desire. And number three, you got to follow up. You've got to do all three of these components over and over and over because once you're in the home, there's going to be a new desire. You're going to be, oh, I want to landscape the backyard. Or I want to, put some flowers. Do some little things that you can do. The other thing, I know this sounds cheap, but if you can't afford flowers, you got plenty of friends and family. Tell them that you're going to come over with some soil and a little cup and some water and get a little bit of all their plants, right? Because they got plants all over and use that for your starter. That's what you tell them. Your yard you got over there that's so pretty. Come over here and help me plant some things so my yard will look the way I want it to look. Now, if my fat self can get out there and put those pavers down and put those rocks in there, and all I did was I made a little line, right? I just took, I'm gonna make you laugh. I didn't have any real equipment except a shovel and a rake. So I took what is it called? A screwdriver, the real heavy screwdriver. And I just kind of dug the area so I would know where to put the block. So it looked like it was so much far from the house and it didn't look crazy. And then I stopped at the end. Then I went, because you got one side of the house, then the back side, then the other side. Then across the front, I took the bricks, instead of making them flat, I stacked them like this, like a accordion, like made it look real cute. And then I put some sand in there to hold it down. Oh, I did it. You hear me? And then I went to Lowe's and bought the knockout roses and the different annuals and stuff for the yard. I was in heaven. You hear me? And I did that myself because I knew I could not afford to do it. And guess what? For about 2 weeks, I was exercising. I was hot. I would go out there in the afternoon from 7 to 9 because I had the in lot. So all the lights in the neighborhood, I had plenty of light and I could stay out there late and it was okay. The other thing I did, I wanted a palm tree. So I went and bought a $16 little potted tree. And I did the little, the rocks real nice and made a big hole and I put it in the center. And I ordered me off season, what is it called? Cherry blossom, a miniature Japanese cherry blossom. And the other little hole, because remember, I had my little rocks going around, and I made two because you have to have two trees. Okay, so I pulled up them trees because I knew they were gonna be big, and I didn't want big trees in my yard. So I pulled them up, and I did that little. I went from a $16 pot 8 years later. By the time I sold at home, it was huge and it looked like something in California. I wish I could have brought it with me, but I live in California. It's already here. But it was beautiful. And when I went back a couple of months before Christmas, I saw it. I was like, oh, the lady's keeping the yard up so good. I was so excited. That Japanese cherry blossom is still miniature. It looks good. It was in full, not well, it wasn't in full bloom, but you know what I mean. It still was at a good size because it's miniature. I did that myself. Do you know how much money I saved? Now, I did have a guy friend that came and helped me pull that tree up because I had pulled it up as much as I can, but I couldn't get that root. And then so I was like, oh, well, help me with the last part of this, putting it around. I was so excited. Then I did my mulch. And you do this stuff when it's on sale. You just throw it in the garage until you get everything you need, okay? And then you do it. And those flowers, I kept them on the back porch because it was covered, and I would just water them until I was able to plant things. That's what you do. You have to be diligent and follow up and maintain your property. All right, I hope this helps you guys. Remember, there is the reality of home ownership. The desire is first, but things come with that desire. You got to make sure that you're ready to be able to purchase. You got that credit score in order. You have your debt to income ratio. You have some closing cost money, and you are ready for all those additional expenses that you have outside of what the apartment and the renting. The second thing is the action. You do the work to make sure that those things are right. You know exactly that you want a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, whatever. You know if you want a corner lot or if you want a cul-de-sac, whatever you want. You have all those things written out, and then now you're able to go and call your lender and get your realtor, and you're ready for it to get your pre-approval because you've done all the work. You've paid those bills down. You got some extra money. You're ready for everything, right? And you're mentally ready, and you understand the principles of what the interest rates are at that current time. And then at the end, after your action, you're in the home, your following up on all your warranties, making sure you maintain your home, having extra money. Now you're cutting your own grass, or you have someone, a landscaper. You're doing the things that are needed. You have your flood insurance. You have your termite insurance, and you're taking care of that property, and you following those warranties because you want to make sure that if something happens, they will honor that warranty. You should have receipts of those things. All right. So that's what you do. And you enjoy your home. You take your bubble baths. You sit in your front yard and you just look and say, I'm a rocker. I sit and I say, I'm so grateful. You go from room to room and you just thank God that you have this home, and you're not regretful. You're not house poor. You're not remorseful, but you got to keep doing the work to maintain it. All right. You have a wonderful day. Home ownership is yours. You just have to have that desire. You have to put action to it, and you have to do the follow up. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. Mwah!